Good evening. Yeah. Good morning.
Whatever. Yes. So I believe that like a few months ago, when an Indian delegation came to Russia, to Moscow, they asked me, okay, so why do you try to translate Ramayana in the old way with the hands when we have these advanced tools that we have nowadays? And like for myself, I have been dealing with artificial intelligence since 1999. That means at least 26 years. I was like, wow, if I would want to generate some gibberish, yes, that might be a good idea. But as I see how many issues arise in such a simple, I would say it's simple compared to the philosophical text we have. Even in Ramayana, we fail so badly with the computer tools. Do we?
That's
How
a
bad? How bad or how good are we in trying to translate with the help of the computer?
I mean, that's a challenging question, I would say. Yeah. And actually assessing translation quality is a very, very difficult task, even if we leave the machines out of the picture. Yeah, just to compare, what is the objective way to decide which translation of the Ramayana is a good translation? Yeah, I think that is something people will disagree as long as we have translators, as so long we will have disagreement about how to translate key terms and so on. And I think that's
So if we will have two translators, we will have three opinions.
exactly, exactly. And one of my colleagues here in the Dharma Mitra project in Berkeley, actually, he did the task of going through existing translations of both the Bhagavad Gita as well as the Yoga Sutras,
Mhm.
and he collected them on sentence level, and in order to see how big the discrepancies between individual translators
So
are.
how many Yoga Sutra translations did he got actually?
More than 20 in the end, I
Okay,
think.
so it's mostly English or some German?
Yes, we focus on translation into English in that task
Okay,
because we had to have something that is easily comparable.
right.
So, yes, and we figured out that the agreement between translators is pretty low on average. So,
So
yeah, I mean,
even two humans compared, it is not a total overlap anyway, right?
exactly, exactly. So I think in that sense, and I think for Sanskrit it's even much more challenging because we have things like shleshas, which actually intentionally provide multiple possible ways of interpreting the same sentence that are both valid. Yeah. So that adds another layer of complexity
And
here.
most even human-made translations never actually notice those slashas. For example, there is the Yoga Vasishtha, and
Mm.
those English translations of it, they actually don't get half of the slashas that there actually are. So, I mean, even the humans don't grasp them. So, how could we expect some calculator would? I mean,
Yes. Yeah. So I think those problems are just fundamentally hard, and it will take many, many years. I mean, even for humans, as you said, most humans fail to grasp this. So how can we expect a machine to grasp this? Yeah, so I think on the one hand, we have a fundamentally very hard problem. Then I think machines are, and so I think if we imagine the world of people, scholars working on Sanskrit and translating Sanskrit material, it's a bit like a bell curve. I think we have people who are maybe not that skilled on the one hand, then we have a lot of people who are more like in the middle, and then we have some people who are excellent. And when I think
mhm,
about the application of these tools, I'm not so much thinking about the people who are excellent. I mean, they
mhm.
probably don't need to have another support. They are in good shape. But the reality is that most of the people, or like there's at least half of the people are below average. Yeah, that's
I
that's
would
just
say 80%, maybe not even half. So it's quite big.
quite big. Yeah.
I mean,
So.
out of those 100 people in the world who actually deal with these issues, around 80 of them would be not so great. So,
Yeah, I mean that might be the case. So but statistically speaking, I mean just by the numbers, half of them will be below average because that's
mhm,
how it works. Yeah. And
mhm.
so I'm thinking more about these tools as helping people who are really struggling with the basics, and in order to
Struggling
get
with the grammar? What would
yes,
they struggle with? Where do you see the main struggle?
I think so looking from it from more from a general perspective. So for example, in religious studies, people have to interact with source languages like Sanskrit, like Tibetan, like Chinese, and so on. But few people have enough time to get the training in order to be able to do that. Yeah, so they
You want to say that people who have not even gone through any linguistical learning at all, you just grasping some term here and there and not even trying to do the grammar work for.
I think that that would be an extreme case. I'm more thinking about people who maybe have done Sanskrit for 2 or 3 years, but who never got to the level of, proficiency where you can just face read scholastic text from the 7th century. Like, I think that really takes, I would guess, maybe roughly 10 to 15 years that you can open a text like Nyaya Manjari and you will be immediately, okay, that's what they're talking about. Okay, nice. I think
and
that kind
and
of,
and and would not experience the pain opening the bhashya, which I hope
yeah.
Dharma Mitra still fails to translate.
Yeah, um, exactly. So that's what I think where tools like this can come in most handy if you are somebody who has, because I wouldn't recommend anybody to use Dharma Mitra or ChatGPT or Claude to translate Sanskrit if there's not some at least advanced basic training in the language. So if you know how Sanskrit grammar works, you have studied it for a couple of years, but you are just struggling with some terminology and so on. That's where Dharma Mitra or Claude or other tools can come in very, very useful. But it's quite, I mean, it's obviously dangerous to use these tools if you don't have the language knowledge at all. Yeah, if you are really not able to read it and then you rely completely on a Dharmamitra translation, I would be careful about that. Yeah, but I think the sweet spot is somewhere where there's enough language knowledge to be able to judge what is really happening, but the just the speed and the access to contextual knowledge and so on is missing. Yeah, like if you are an expert on Buddhist philosophy and you venture into Vaisheshika and so on, there's always this friction because certain terminology and so on is not so clear. And this is where I believe that these kind of AI tools that we have at the moment can be used to some advantage. Yeah.
Mhm. So I'm seeing that like
Mhm.
1 year ago, like around 1 year ago when Google Translate came out, so I was trying to make my own benchmark, like to see how they are improving. So like testing from time to time, like a set amount of sentences and see where they go wrong. So
Yeah.
initially Google Translate was miserable and I was happy. I was like laughing at it, like, okay, great, great, great. I'm happy that it's making so many mistakes. Otherwise, I would feel myself bad.
Mhm.
So, and it seems that even in a time, in a year, such a short time frame as a year,
Mhm.
the situation is changing. I wouldn't say drastically, but how is it changing?
Yeah. I think we are currently in a very dynamic phase. And as you described, things that haven't really worked a year ago, maybe now in February 2025, are totally different. Yeah. So we are
And you
making
had you had an update lately of your own algorithm, right?
yes, yes. We just updated 2 weeks ago, and I think it. I mean, I can show some numbers later on what how that
Sure.
affects the performance, but I think on average we have also seen big performance improvements for our system, and we are also keeping a very close eye on the performance of Claude and ChatGPT and all of these models. So every couple of weeks we will run some tests on all of these different models to give a
Hmm.
comparison.
So you are keeping an eye on them, right?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course, of course. That's kind of part of our work to make decisions on how we provide.
And
Yeah.
you have like a limited amount of sentences, benchmark kind of something?
So we have I can show some graphs of that later,
Yes,
but we have
I would absolutely want to see like my I mean as of I mean it's not any longer 1994, so we have a lot of Sanskrit tools already. I mean, uh, how did you actually land? I mean, into this. I mean, for example, I was wondering like one of my students uses these tools, and then I asked, so why don't you use Dharma Mitra? I have told you already several times to use Dharma Mitra. Why don't you use Dharma Mitra? Why do you prefer other tools? And so I was surprised to know that one of the answers was that in ChatGPT you can ask to explain
Yes.
why we get there here, and like in Perplexity we can ask for the sources, for the references,
Hmm.
and here we only like we have to take it as granted, or anyway we cannot see what's in the belly.
I mean, the reason why we have a more traditional interface at the moment, so we are also working on adding those explanation
So you have
capabilities.
that idea, you do try to, you have a plan of linking back to grammar.
We are. So I think, and this is actually, I mean, I can quickly show you because we added this just
I
um
believe we are ready to share the screen.
yes. Okay. I mean, I can just dive directly into Dharma at this
To
point.
some
So
meat, to see
yes.
some.
So right. So I mean, I'm just taking the first verse of the well-known Meghaduta,
Right,
and
perfect.
yeah, I mean, you can of course translate. You will get your translation. But what
I
we
have a user interface question. Do many people understand they have to press the play button? Haven't you seen that people copy and stop here? No?
I mean, we tried to play around with not having the play button in the past, but it was not. I mean, it's technically not working so well. I mean, you can
Not
do that with Google Translate if you have very low latencies, then
right,
that's okay. But if you have, because our system has a little bit of latency,
right.
so, and then if you do that instant thing, then it becomes very unpleasant to use because you will always
Okay,
have, yeah. So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, you have to press the play button. I think so far people have not complained too much.
okay, okay. I mean, when I first met it, I was like, whoa, 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 where do I have to go here?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so that's kind of what you get. This is Dharma Meter, the way it works, but you can actually now select this English explained option, and we also want to add this for other languages. So right now it's only English, which is a bit
So
sad, but
explained, it means adding those in the square brackets. What is the explain? What is explain? Okay, okay. Oh, it was
so
not.
this,
It took time to generate it. So
um,
can you have a like something like a message that what you see is not what actually is there? That there is some delay in this
I think
switching those modes.
the delay is not very long. You just click
Okay.
on English explain, then you. I mean, it basically it takes roughly the same time to generate.
Okay,
It's a
but
little bit
because
slow,
it's obvious for you that you have to wait. It,
but.
I mean, it's not obvious for me that something is happening because you did press the tab, but I
Yeah,
didn't see no real change. And as I was like, okay, this might be the same, and just like it's like announced something, but it's not actually something the real difference. Okay, so this is something in that direction which we were speaking about, right?
exactly. So what this will do, it will use our grammatical engine that we have and combine the machine translation with that and then provide like a linguistically informed translation that uses the grammatical tagging system of Oliver Helwig's digital Sanskrit corpus. So then you will see each word explained by the grammatical function as well as the meaning and how it interacts with the other parts of the
Okay, then
sentence.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Is this explain mode? Does it has any like way to, you see, like now nominative and masculine, they are like in same normal font that everything else is.
Yeah.
Can't we have it like structured like italics, whatever, like
Yeah,
kind of?
yeah, yeah. So that's we are working on this. So I
Okay,
hope to update this next week. So we have a working version, but it's
right,
just like we need to update and yeah. So that
right.
will take another week, but it will come.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean, because now it's like a big chunk of text, and I hardly see what is the real text, what is the explained part, and I mean some UI questions.
Yeah. I fully agree. I think this is like right now we show that it's technically possible, and
Right.
then to
It's
make
working, and yeah, right.
exactly. So this is really for, I think the target audience I have in mind is just as you explained, students who are progressing in Sanskrit, maybe not first year students because I think they probably are still they. I think in my opinion it's good if people who start to learn a language, maybe the first year or two, they don't use any of these tools at
Right.
all.
They are
Maybe
not
just
even made aware of them.
yes, that's good idea. I mean, or maybe you can mention it, but then say okay, but don't use it.
Never, never open it.
I mean, what's the point of going to a Sanskrit class if you start to use these tools for
Right. You get your hands get dirty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, once you are in year 2 or 3 and there's some experience and some like more solid knowledge of the language, then I think being productive with these tools can be
Right,
a big help. But before that, I would be careful. Yeah. Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So have you compared like this Mechaduta translation to those available English Mechaduta translations or
Yeah. So what we are doing here is we use existing Megaduta and other translations that are in public domain. So, for example, on archive.org, I know that Kali has done a good rendering of the Megaduta into English. So we use these available translations in our database. So when Dharmamitra translates, it will, before putting out the translation, it will fetch existing translations and do a comparison and make sure that the translation that Dharmamitra creates aligns with existing translations if they are available in the database and if they are of good quality. And this is certainly one of those texts where we are actually benefiting a lot from existing
right?
translations.
So Kale's mistakes will be reproduced for eternal times until you notice them.
That's one way to look at it, I think. Yeah. Unless AI is going to be able to improve on Carly's mistakes, which we will have to judge. I think that's another question. Yeah. But for
Yeah,
now,
so
I think yeah, we are kind
I
of limited
I,
by the.
I believe that there should be a unity like of like I would say human volunteers and the capabilities of this artificial intelligence and only united they actually work. So none of if intelligence is left alone, it gets wrong. I mean, it can generate like millions of pages for the on the web, and it will learn actually later based on them, and so it will go get really really bad. So and only people, however smart, however not smart they are, they will
Hmm.
not make a change as well. So I hope that I will live up to a day when people, I mean, the scholars, they cannot do that. So at this time, we need to learn the machines, but scholars' efforts are not here. They don't want to do the black job done. So and to get this machine good, I believe we need volunteers to prove, to compare, to so it's not like one people, two-person job. It's like hundreds of people literally should be involved in this proof reading, whatever it is like.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the dreams on my end is to have a kind of crowdsourced platform where, there's a kind of working translation of the Megaduta that might be in the first pass generated by an AI tool based on existing translations, and then humans actually can post correct and improve it, similar to how Wikipedia
Yes,
is
it's it's
making
it's
knowledge
kind of
available.
it's kind of wiki platform. So I mean, I have a lot of in the last 20 years, I have a lot of experience in Sanskrit crowdsourcing projects. So I've done it many
Oh,
times before. I mean, your corpora is 10 times bigger than mine. So I have my Sanskrit Russian corpora, which is 120,000 shlokas,
oh,
which is
but
which
it's
is
something. Yeah. Mhm.
which is 10 times smaller than yours.
Mm.
But it was we started before anyone started. It's like 10 years ago. So and we it's good. It's not it's far from the English in as of the size of the corpora, but it's something I am looking at with hope that
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I would be very happy to support crowdsourcing projects. So if you want to integrate Dharma Mitra in some way to such a.
We have already integrated Dharmamitra actually. I wanted to show you that we have already, although you are not aware of it, we have integrated your API long ago.
Okay, okay, that's
We
great. Yeah.
we found out how it works, so we did some reverse engineering and so
I mean, it's probably not a big secret. I was
yes,
not
it's not a big secret anyway. So yeah, so okay. So you are moving so in this like Sanskrit and English is the main priority, or like this combination is the one?
um I think Sanskrit and English is obviously the biggest market, so to speak, and it's
Right,
also we have the most translations. So in order to create biggest performance increases in the beginning, focusing on English makes sense. But I'm
right.
also since I'm from Germany, I enjoy to collect
Right.
translations into German as well. And
Some
I mean,
90, one more nice 19th century German translation.
yeah, if it's available, I'm always happy to add it to our library. In a way,
Right.
what we do is kind of like librarians. Yeah, we are collecting the work that ha other scholars have done. We
Right.
integrate it into our system, and then we see what the AI can do with that. I'm also very actively collecting Japanese translations,
Mm,
especially for Buddhist material. That's where I believe most of the high quality work is found in,
mm,
especially for Buddhist Shastra, the
hmm
Dhammakosha and Prasanapada and all of these major Shastric works don't really have good translations into English that are based on the Sanskrit. Yeah, we have some translations based on the Chinese and so
hmm
on. So the real quality is found in Japan. And so, and also French, of course, obviously, there's some great work available in French as well. So these are the major languages that we are also trying to source. And of course, Russian would be great to support. At some point, I found some 40,000 slokas on the internet. I don't know if that collection was is kind of a part of what you have been working on. I'm not sure.
Anyway, 40 is like now we are 120,000 shlokas and
That's
when I was looking at your presentation like a few months ago, thought, wow, you are 10 times bigger than me, but I'm at least comparable to the size.
I mean, it's a lot of work to collect 120,000
It's not a
slokas.
collect, it's to compile. It's not, you don't take it from the internet. You have to get it there actually to the
Yeah.
internet.
Wow. That's even harder work. Yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
it's tough to get this material. I
It's
fully
tough. So
agree.
every to have this thing flying, first you have to crave. You have to
Mm,
it's you have to be very slow in preparing this. So
yeah.
this is why I'm amazed to see how quick you go. I mean, what you do in such a short time, it's something amazing.
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit of a coming together of different factors. So for the grammatical engine, since I've been working with Oliver Helbig for many years now, and we are good friends, and so I really could benefit from the corpus and the work he has been doing, and we used it in previous projects. So it's kind of, it was not, I mean, we didn't have to start from scratch, yeah. So there
Right.
was already a big basis to build upon, and similarly for
So
the
it
trans.
was like around since 2017. What was the year when you like started doing it together?
Yeah, I think in 2018 we published the word segmentation tool for Sanskrit, which is based on Oliver's corpus, the
Right.
Handi segmentation system, which I think is also for search engine creation on Sanskrit really an important step because and I think for any kind of like natural language processing you want to do with Sanskrit, if you can't even uh, resolve the Sandhi and access individual tokens, it's going to be very hard. Yeah. So that kind of work was quite, I think already in 2018 we realized that this AI technology, and back then it was much more simple, but the basic algorithms were the same that we use today. Yeah, it was Transformer in 2018, it is Transformer in 2025. So that has not changed. Even though now the machines are a little bit bigger, they can process a little bit more data, but the principle, the basis is still the same, which is a bit surprising. Yeah, one would expect these things to change faster, but they are actually in that way quite stable. Yeah, and for us, it was quite clear in 2018 that this is going to be a major change in the way we do computational linguistics for Sanskrit, and it seems to be the case. Yeah, so that's what we are still doing 7, 8, 9 years later. So yeah, let's see what comes next. Yeah.
I believe that one of the issues with Oliver's Corpora it's maximally anti-wiki, means that if there is any mistake, it is there for a long time. So
Yeah.
there is no feedback loop, and this is rather something that remains closed.
Yeah.
I believe too closed, maybe from my standpoint.
I mean, I get the point, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges working. I mean, I kind of like looking at academia and how we do these projects. I always feel, I mean, there might be three different extremes on how to do this. So the one way would be to have the Wikipedia model where you have a
Right.
crowd system and everybody can edit. And then another way could be what Oliver is doing, which is the opposite. You have like individuals who are very determined, who have a lot of knowledge and who just follow their own set of standards, which
Mhm.
is which makes a lot of things much easier. And that's kind of how we get to, I mean, in the case of Oliver, of course, I agree there can be things we might disagree about, standards and so on, mistakes and so on. They just
No,
happen.
I would even say just about the mistakes, not even deal the standards, just
Yeah.
I mean, as it's mostly Gretel based anyway, that means that most of them, so I mean, nobody ever actually cleaned the Gretel ever. So I mean, there never was a task to
Mm.
clean the Gretel texts, and they are dirty.
Yeah, 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 sure, sure. Mm.
And this is where I mean, I would be willing to help. I mean, I do have an idea. We had like at the Cologne dictionary website, we had a lot of automized ways of cleaning out of mistakes and errors. I have dealt many years with the cleaning of Sanskrit texts, and I believe that there might be a time for an update, a time for cleaning out the dirt. Because if if garbage in, garbage out, then uh, okay, so I'm really still a bit surprised that okay, in India, every university is on its own. So like nobody tries to cooperate. And this is something that still is painful for me to see when I come to yet another Sanskrit conference to
Yeah.
see that there is yet another Sanskrit analyzing tool.
Mm.
Like as if we have no other tasks harder than that to solve. And
Exactly, yeah.
and
Mm.
this pains me because there is a limited amount of people who are actually capable of solving such tasks, who are interested, who have the needed background,
Mm.
and they are solving eternally yet another something kind of task
Mm.
instead of uniting. And we need brain power here, so that lots of issues are hard, and it will take maybe centuries to solve them, and we still uh, live on our own. And like I say, every Indian university has not even the slightest clue what the other one does. Not to say about the outside world, outside India, and it's similar in outside world. They don't know what's in India because India is trying to be that closed one. I mean, when I get
Yeah.
to Pune to the Pune Sanskrit dictionary project, so they don't have even internet in the building. They have cut it off. They have intranet, but no
Amazing.
internet because they're afraid their Sanskrit would be stolen.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
Sanskrit
yeah, that's a big,
stolen in 2000 in 21st century. So that for me, it's like that's an extreme.
I mean, shouldn't people be happy if somebody takes the Sanskrit and does something
That's
with it?
not the point. That's not the way it works in India. So people are not happy. So Sanskrit is dying there from one standpoint, and from the other standpoint, nobody even cares because let nobody get it like
Yeah. I mean, that's of course, those are challenges. And I mean, I observed the same thing that you have been describing. I wouldn't blame. I mean, there's also some kind of dynamics at universities. Like if you are a PhD student in computer linguistics and you want to do something with Sanskrit, then maybe the obvious choice is to do another word segmentation tool because that's something, kind of you can understand, you can work on. And if your goal is just to get a PhD degree in computer science, then I think that is okay. But the contribution
is
to
it okay? Sebastian, is it okay?
that's another question, yeah.
I mean, it's something doable in that
Yeah.
time span,
Mm.
but shouldn't we try to pile up our knowledge and not just to replicate it all the time, every year? So for the last 20 years, I'm seeing these papers on OCR,
Mm.
lemmatization. It's repeating, and I see different approaches. Some are dead by the time they were born, some are all kinds of things anyway.
Yes.
So and this is what is a bit painful for me to see that, yes, I mean, some of the best still remain closed.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there's the problem of computer science talking with Indology, and then there's of course, obviously very big problem of institutions in India talking or not talking with institutions in the West. And I mean, all those tensions, they work in different ways. Yeah, and I would be very happy if we could just collaborate more together. But I mean, on the upside, there are also people who are very productive and who get things done both in India as well as in institutions in Europe, yeah, and America. So I think, yeah, there are problems, but there are also some things work. So I want to be optimistic in that regard as well. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, what else could you show me? Like, what's how does the Dharma works and why does it works? How it works?
Yeah, I mean, um, let me switch to a different slide. I mean, do you want to? I mean, I can show the.
Just, I mean, I've seen the slide, but means some of the points. I mean, like, where is Dharma compared to the other tools? For example, okay, one of the things
That's
is.
a good place to start. So this is an overview that I have just created a week ago. So it's really up
Mhm.
to date. And I mean,
Could
just
you
before.
zoom it a bit right there? Because, okay,
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
I want to zoom a bit. So just to explain, so the blue bar is our current Dharma model that we provided, that we updated 2 weeks ago. So that's the new version.
Mm-hmm.
The orange bar is Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, in our evaluation, maybe Claude is the best Sanskrit to English translation tool among the big LLMs. I mean, we tested
So you are the best about between the small ones, and they are the best about the big ones.
I would say it's probably the best among the big ones. We tested ChatGPT as well, quite closely, as well as Gemini. They are not doing bad, but on average, I mean, Claude is slightly better. But the surprising news is also, I think all of these tools, so the best ChatGPT, the best Gemini by Google, and the Claude, the best, they are all very similar. They are
Mhm.
similar in the mistakes they do, they are similar in the strengths they have. So I'm actually suspecting that maybe the data sets that they are using to train, I wouldn't be surprised if there's by now quite a black market
If
of
they would
data.
be identical.
Very much, yeah. So I think they're all trained on all the ebooks on Amazon, on Anna's Archive, on LibGen, and so on. So I think they are just using all of this obviously copyright protected material without any kind of scrutiny about that. And then they will
Right.
in the end pretend they haven't done that. So that's kind
Right.
of, kind of where we are.
So you
And
see that they are pretty similar.
they are very similar. I mean, in our, I was really surprised. They are all weak on the same text. They're strong on the same text. So I
You
have
you
very,
would expect a bit more of difference, right?
yeah, but there isn't. I think the only thing that really is different is Google Translate, but Google Translate really struggles compared to these models. So you
So
can,
you mean you don't have it here because it gets really bad, right?
it's so bad that it wouldn't even show up consistently in the
Would
graphs.
it? Really?
Yes. So
So
I
it
would.
would not be visualized in this comparison?
We had it in the earlier versions of the graph, but
Yes,
then
that's
we,
why I remember. I remember you had it somewhere
yeah.
below.
Yes, yes, yes. But for this one, we decided to exclude it because it's just not
Okay.
doing so
That
well. Yeah.
yeah, you should have it at least in the legend that okay, we are aware that there was that fellow that was called Google Translate, but it's so bad that it's down below.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, the last time we checked Google Translate was in October 2024, so that's 4 months ago now. So it might be better by now. So I give it the benefit of a doubt. We have to update the numbers, but
Okay.
for
So it
now, we
might
not.
be not 0.05, it could be now 0.07, let's say, for Google Translate. So, okay.
I mean, to quickly explain this graph, so what we did is we sampled randomly 100 sentences from each of these categories. So we have categories in our corpus that roughly follow the division of Gretel. So you will
So you have
notice,
how many categories?
I think by now, what is it?
Because they
About,
are not numbered.
yeah, they're not numbered, but
But could you number them in the future? I mean, to have some point of reference, easy, quick reference, not just to tell GP12 is like, because GP12, I don't know how many GSs are there, so I cannot tell you to which one to look at.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we are currently working on a publication that will summarize all of
Right,
this, give an
right.
explanation of that. So that will come, yeah. And here the blue bar is our current Dharma Mitra performance, while the orange one is Claude and the green one is our Dharma Mitra from 4 months ago. So we had the
Okay,
public version in I think it was we trained it in September and we made it available in October, and that's the green bar, while the blue one is our current model update that
right.
we created 2 weeks ago. So you can see that Dharma Mitra now is consistently outperforming the previous model. So we have made big improvements on the quality of our system. And I think we are, I mean, this is really a bit subjective, and maybe some people will have different experience, but on
Hmm.
average, our model is doing better than Claude.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, with Claude, of course, you get certain abilities that we don't yet have, like to
Right,
ask follow-up questions,
right.
explain that word
But
and so
you
on.
are thinking about that as well.
We are thinking about that, but we are prioritizing quality over
Right.
ability. I think,
Over features.
yes, Claude is more broad, so they give all kinds of features and they don't really
Yeah.
consider quality.
If you would concentrate on the features, you would still fail because you don't have these resources, and then there would be no real gain because you would fail in those features anyway, and you wouldn't have nothing that they don't have.
Yes. I mean, that's certainly one aspect because we are an academic team, so we have academic resources, which compared to what Claude,
Right.
like Anthropic
You
or
are
Google.
like a small bug on a like on a on,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where we are. We have about 1,000 times less hardware resources than even the smallest of these AI companies. So we are really
would the hardware make a difference as well?
I mean, the hardware obviously makes a huge difference when it comes to the base intelligence that these models have. So in a sense, we are using very small resources, which means our model are more it's more fixed to create fixed output. So we can translate from one sentence to another in a very reliable way, but we cannot answer questions about, what did
Right.
uh,
Why?
yes, all these reasoning capabilities, Dharma Mitra is much more limited because we
Hmm.
don't have those resources, and there's also no way we get it. I mean, we have been thinking about maybe we can apply for grants to raise 10 or 15 million dollars in order to get there, but
Right.
even that kind of money would by far not be enough to create
Hmm.
something meaningful. So I think the reality here is just independent teams are out when it comes to creating this kind of models in any near future. So it's really just 3 or 4 companies in the world who can do this. A few of them
Hmm.
in China, a few of them in America, but outside of that, I mean, maybe in France there's Mistral, which is they're doing good things, but also there you can see the performance is not as good as compared to commercial.
Because you have dropped it out, because you had it in that other comparison I saw, you had Mistral there, but you don't have it here.
Yeah. Again, I think here we are just focusing on the best performing models to give an overview since we already have a lot of categories.
Right.
But yeah, I think in the publication we're working on, we will show more comprehensive overview with other models as well.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but as you can see, we have done it on Vedic text. I mean, we are really careful with the evaluation that we will present as much different literature as possible. So even
So
like that.
how bad are you in Shastra?
I think let's put it this way, we improved a lot in Shasta recently.
So it was miserable and now it's next to what?
I mean, I'm mostly looking at Buddhist Shastra, and I think it has become very reliable. So when it comes to Abhidharma, for example, I would trust Dharmamitra quite a lot. It does
Mhm.
mistakes, yes, but it's much better. And I mean, you will be the judge. I mean, that really depends on the material you are working on. We have also seen improvements on grammar, and so on. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, nothing is perfect, and Dharmamitra certainly is not perfect. So it really depends on the material you are working on, I would say. Mm.
So grammar is one of the fields where there is a huge gain. Is it right? The Shastra one?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's one of those categories where we see clear improvements. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have separate graphs for Buddhist material since we actually have separated the Buddhist material into subcategories based on the Tibetan collections, Kangyo and Tengyo. So they are not showing up here, but I mean, there we have also some further improvements. Yeah. Mhm.
Is there something else to see other than this slide? Something visual?
1 second, let me have a look. There might be. Um, I mean, for the technical part,
Not too technical part, but anyway, something graspable for a human. not
Hmm.
for a computer scientist.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I can show a little bit. You are probably already familiar with this, but I mean, we do have the grammatical future also as a standalone. Um,
I have not tried the standalone.
well, I mean, it's kind of integrated into the system where you click on that grammar button and then you get this, which
Could,
I
could,
think,
could, could you show a bit?
yeah, yeah. I can also show it in live. One second. Um, so when you here we are. So when you scroll down, now you have to scroll a bit more because we have a lot of explanations, but you can
Mhm.
actually,
Oh, okay. This you have to know that you have to scroll. Okay, understood. Yeah, right.
yeah. And this is then where you have like a grammatical breakdown of the sentences, which um, gives you an analysis that is based on the DCS annotations and some machine learning. So we did machine learning on top of the
Mm-hmm.
DCS in order to create a system that is like narrowly focusing on creating DCS compatible annotations. So those
Mm-hmm.
for Oliver
Mm-hmm.
standards, I mean, you will find mistakes again. That is kind of part of the process. But yeah,
Right.
and we have linked this actually up with dictionaries. In this case, this is a version of Monnier-Williams, I believe, that is linked to the lemmas of the DCS. And this is something, I mean, obviously integrating Cologne dictionaries would
This
be,
is something where I see pain because I mean by the time that Oliver scraped Cologne, it was a long time ago when the
yeah, of course.
dinosaurs were
Yeah.
still running around. So that means in that meantime there have been plenty, tens of thousands of updates, and actually
Mm.
I hope I mean one of my dreams is that those tools they speak to each other, that they don't say once and then it's dead, and then that they do integrate somehow at least.
Mm. No, obviously. I mean, I would be very happy to. It's also one of those things. I mean, we only have so much time, yeah.
Right.
And it's a big
It's a
thing
big
on.
task. Each of these is like huge.
Yes. Yes. But I think in like at least I would guess 60 to 70% of the cases, like for example, Guru would be quite easy to link up with
Right.
Money
So
on.
some of them are low hanging fruit anyway.
Yes, exactly. I mean, even to just add the low-hanging fruits that you
Right.
then
Just to add that link from this lemma kind of thing.
yes into the Petersburger dictionary and
Like
so on.
anyway, and you can go big there, and yeah, that's
Yes, I mean that is a low-hanging fruit, something that I would really be happy to provide, but just I didn't have the time, and of course it becomes tricky because we have lots of cases. I mean, Batre might still be okay, but we have certain cases where it then starts to fail because just the lemmas
no,
of Oliver.
Ashtanga Mitra might be some such a case.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is actually something where our system is not really.
Okay, and please tell me why does it tell compound and no meaning? So where do we go from here?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, these are the shortcomings of the system, and to
Okay,
link
so
that
okay,
up.
well,
uh,
do you have a plan for this? Okay, Ashtangamita, it's a compound. Uh,
hmm.
do you have a plan how to fix that in next version this will not be just a compound?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious way to fix this is to just train more capable language models that are less prone to making mistakes. Yeah, and that's an iterative process. So we have trained our model last year, then we get some data improvements, but that's also, I mean, currently. Uh, I think the good news is Oliver's data is now all on GitHub, so you can actually just download it. He put it all in Conlu format on GitHub. So if you want to do your own annotations or improvements, you can actually do that on Conlu. We are thinking and working on a solution to loop back improved text into the corpus. So that's something, as you rightly observed, is currently not working because Oliver's platform doesn't have like an edit and improve function at the moment. And
Right.
I
And
mean, it's
I believe he's not even a fan of that idea anyway.
I mean, the problem if you do that is you also need to curate, yeah, and then you need to, I mean, on the one hand, if you go full on crowdsourcing,
Right.
that's one
Now,
way to do it.
you cannot go full on crowdsourcing. There is, still has to be a way to verify.
Exactly, and that becomes a lot of work. And I
That
think,
becomes, but that is something that when people come together and
yeah,
speak, that is
yeah,
something that can be handled. I don't say it's easy or quick, but
mm,
if we don't speak, and if in 10 years what Oliver has been done is the best, then I would say we are standing where we should go on and just to try to replicate what he's done like in 2013, which is like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I mean, certainly, certainly. And I also know that he, as well as, I mean, both of us, we don't have time to contribute huge new annotations at the moment. I don't think that is happening. And
When you say new annotations, you mean like what? Like
to really sit down and to improve existing annotations of sentences and to add new text that are annotated, because I mean that's how it works. You use a tool like our grammatical analyzer, and then you post correct the annotations that the tool is creating. Like we can actually manually fix Astanga meter to make sure it is
yeah, manually we can, but the question is, okay, so will there be a day that the tag will be not just compound, but what kind of samasa it is?
mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean all of this. I know that Jivnesh Sandan, I don't know if you know him, but he's a Sanskrit, computer Sanskritist from IIT Kharagpur, and he's working together with us, and they have done a paper on compound type identification last
Yeah, I
year.
know. I mean, I was at Kharagpur in 2019 at the
Ah,
Sanskrit symposium, and yeah, so yeah,
mm,
it's great to hear that you still try to. There is at least some attempts of corporation, like
yes, of course. I mean, Jivnesh and we are meeting very regularly, and we are also good friends. Um, it is not fully compatible. I mean, again, that's the basic problem. So the system of Jivne's team is not fully compatible with the compound annotations of Oliver's corpus, so it kind of fails in some details. So we finally decided not to include it in the website. But that's
oh,
another thing. I think just by a couple of weeks, maybe 1 or 2 months of dedicated work, those problems can be overcome. Yeah.
mhm.
But that's again, I
But
mean, we
you're
have
not getting there.
at the moment, not, but if somebody wants to do it, I mean, I'm very happy to support the efforts, but it's just I don't have the time. Like we have to pick
Right.
our battles. Yeah, there are many other things that we have to do. So it's not, yeah. I mean, I would love to do it. It's an
Mhm.
amazing possibility to have that. But for now, it's not going to happen in the next maybe half year or so. Yeah.
Right,
But maybe.
because like for me, for this Ashtanga Mita would be like the first would be like just roughly tear it apart. Anyway, it's not tearing apart. Then okay, what's the next thing we can do? Okay, I mean, for example, we have a at Cologne we have an index of all the possible Sanskrit headwords in all the dictionaries. That's a list of 400,000 words.
Yeah.
I would love to see if it's there or not. So anyway, there should be some algos, even if we are not yet there, like
Mm,
to have like a plan for what could we do with it, like in 1 year from now, in 5 years from now. So I believe we should speak about these issues, and we should not try to solve everything on our own.
Obviously, yeah, yeah,
If we
obviously.
could make like if we could open it, I mean, we could have like some draft of like what do we need, and we could announce it. And then, for example, if someone in Australia is making a PhD on Sanskrit, he would know that there is a brick he could supply in this
Mm,
system, and not just make that yet another Sankey analyzing tool.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is what
No,
I this is my dream.
No, I fully agree. I think if we can, as a field,
a
convert.
black a black market of Sanskrit to, to, related tools. Like I have this gem, and I will exchange it with your sword.
Mm, yeah, in a way, I think so. Dharma Meter, we are already more thinking about contributing to an ecosystem of capabilities than to be a monolithic entity. Yeah, and that's
Right.
why we have an API. That's why you can actually call that API for your purposes, like the grammar tool, and we want to support other projects. So if you have your own annotation project, you can actually use our grammar analyzer as a
This
basis.
is where I would want to try, because as of now, I
Mm,
do not know how to use it.
mm,
And I mean, I don't know a video which I could show to someone who could actually get into it. I mean, I am ready to share as well, to find people, to look for people, to train people, to see if we can actually make use of each other's efforts, and unite and not just try to grab something and run away.
Yeah. I mean, I can show you Sanskrit DCS. GitHub. I mean, Oliver has his
He
data.
has a GitHub, but he doesn't actually work on his GitHub a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, just to explain to you, so you have here the DCS. I think we actually
Yeah,
get
it's like 5 years old, I believe.
I think the last update was 4 months ago.
Okay, but that's not the full database anyway. It's only the generated part, I believe.
I think this is pretty much the full database from what I know. At least this is the data that we use to train our grammatical analyzer.
Right.
And if you go here, you will see this is actually conlu format,
Yeah,
which is
I have seen I have seen them, but there are many issues. I mean, I have actually documented my issues with these data. Um, I have big document. I have piled up big documentation on what believe is and can be fixed here, because if we take this as granted, we get in trouble.
yeah, yeah.
This is
Mm.
what I've seen in the past. So I've been looking at this data for last, I believe, many years. So and yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is something to play with, but I would want to work it with it, not only to play. And for that, there needs to be some way of feedbacking. And I mean, I have raised issues in Oliver's GitHub, and he never even took an eye on it. So anyway, I mean, um, some people are like want to work on their own, and some do not. But the problem is that the tasks are so huge that
Mm.
however genius you are,
Yeah.
you will fail this or sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, you can of course create a fork of Oliver's database. I don't think there's anything speaking
You
against
can, but I
it.
would really want to see the source getting good,
Yeah,
better, even better, and not just trying to make a replica. I
yeah.
believe that that's the way. So for dictionaries on the Sanskrit internet, Kalagna. I
Mm.
want to have one place which is clean.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not clean. It would require next 200 years to get it cleaned, but we are doing it on a daily basis. And it's going on, and you can see that there are hundreds and thousands of GitHub issues and commenting, and it's an everyday job.
Mm.
And you can actually get into it, but that's only one part, because and then there is grammar, and then there is this morphological analysis, which there are so many issues actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a big challenge. I agree, and there's many hundreds of years of work ahead, I think, and to yeah,
Right.
even to agree on
On
how
the
to.
standards.
I mean, agreeing on the standards is a huge thing, and then even once we have them, to agree on how to apply them is another huge thing. And I mean, I understand why these projects move so slowly. Even if you have a very well-funded academic project over 4, 8, or even 16 years with 5 or 6 scholars, you might only produce a few thousand sentences in the end annotated
Oh,
because, I mean, that's the experience what I've seen so far
oh.
is if you the bigger, I mean, the bigger the projects are, the more you have to negotiate between different people to agree on these annotation standards. And that's where the real trouble starts. It's when you have to review and to rediscuss all of this.
So
Um,
a lot of speaking is involved, right?
obviously, obviously. And I mean, there's a reason why we don't see so much output generate. I mean, we have projects that do corpus annotations and so on again and again, and these are very important and it's part of the process. But to create a corpus of the size like Oliver has done doesn't really work um, on scale if you have people who have to negotiate the annotation of each of the sentences. I mean, I think there's value in crowdsourcing this kind of work, but it still needs to be reviewed. And
But we can learn actually the reviewers as well. So that means that that's doable. I mean,
yeah,
one point to start would be to have a video of, okay, I have this text,
mm,
never ever like analyzed before. Where do
mhm,
I start from now? So if there would be such one, I would guarantee there would be people from Russia at least, and
Mm.
I believe that I could even find some outside Russia that would be eager to learn. But the point is, there are no tutorials,
Yeah.
and even your tool, I'm not aware of any real video tutorial of what does it does as of today.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's very valuable to be able to add that. It's just we didn't yet get to the point of
Yeah,
providing it.
you always try to you believe that if you'll eliminate this bug, then it will be the one, and until you not do it, it's not the one you can share with the world.
Yeah, I think it's also just about providing feedback capabilities is a lot of work. It's a lot of work on the programming end to create a platform that has all of these capabilities. And then it also is really a lot of work to maintain and to, yeah, to judge those feedback. I mean, it's the same for the translation process. Yeah, if we have an option for the users to post correct the translations, and we are thinking about adding that soon, so we are working on it. Um, on the one hand, it's great, but on the other hand, it also adds a lot of work for the people providing the system, like me and others. We
Yes,
actually
but
have,
this is the place where you should delegate. This is not something that otherwise you'll get like the burden will be too tough. And if you
yes,
just choose it, let's not add it because that burden will be too tough, then that's the point. Well, we need to train those people who actually discuss with those people who propose those changes. So that means that's something you should get rid as for yourself. You should not try to do solve all of the content and formal issues on your own. You should have like, and I believe that we can. I mean, this is the place where actually like India is rising now. So for the last 20, 30 years, they were using computers as typewriters. So they were not using computers what computers actually can do. And
mm,
now they are getting to the point, and I've seen um, a few very talented Sanskrit computer like engineers that
mm,
are interested in Sanskrit. Not
mm,
Sanskrit engineers, but engineers that are interested in Sanskrit,
mm,
and India has become huge. So
mm,
I believe you should
mm.
not try to solve here. So you are like expecting that, okay, I will have 10,000 submissions per month and I will have to go through all of them myself. No, that's a bad plan. This plan will get you nowhere. So you will get stuck with everything. And the only thing you will be you will be backlogging. So you'll be just like running and never reach the point just to go through those submissions. So that's something I believe is you have to understand early. You don't have to try it, do it on your own.
Of course, I think I agree on that. But when it comes to delegating, even that requires to have the right
Even that
people to
require, but
start.
that initial uh, attempt of delegating gives at least a hope. Otherwise, that's hopeless.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Mm.
What else is there? What else should one be aware of at the website other than the English and the expanded English and this grammar analysis? Is there something else?
I mean, for now, we do have, you can also translate into other languages. I'm not sure if we have Russian actually available.
No, you don't have, and this was one of the points I wanted to ask. Is it theoretical at least possible?
Absolutely. And as you mentioned that you have those 120,000 slokas, I mean, if we could add them, I mean, that's a bit how our system works is we use examples in order to
Right, that's
instruct
the way it
our
works.
model. Yes, that's the way it works. So and I think so far the Russian data, so Sanskrit to Russian data we had was very limited. We only had those 40,000 sentences, and I think the quality was not good. So I was
Right.
a bit
So
like
the
showed it
quality
to
I
my.
have is the best on the market,
Okay,
and I'm happy to share it because I mean I really saw the
excellent.
French ones, and then I thought, okay, you don't have just the German, you don't, so you do try to be representative, and Russia language is still a huge one, so it's of a size comparable to the French one, like kind of.
Yes, and obviously, I mean, Russian Sanskrit studies is excellent quality, so I'm more than happy to
Great. So,
support. So,
I mean, I believe that from time to time we
mm,
should come together and
yes,
speak And not that we have solutions for everything, but at least we are aware that there are bright people around the globe who try to solve at least some small tasks of it.
Yeah, so when it comes to Russian, yeah, feel free to send me the data. I could add
Sure.
it already on the weekend, and then maybe next week we have Russian here. So that's
I have to understand what format you need. Okay. Anyway, I am totally for it. I am ready
yeah.
to dive into it to have it as you need it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so our format is usually it's quite simple. So we have one sentence Sanskrit, and then I mean you can have it as
for
a tier.
example, for the Mahabharata, let me just show you an example. So I will show you an example how we have the Mahabharata. So you understand it's not always one sentence, one sentence. Sometimes it's a bit more of pain. Just a moment. I am. If I send you a link, let me send you a link and you'll just open it yourself. You'll just share it on your screen. I am sending you the link on Facebook and you just open it.
1 second. I will just need to open my messenger now. Okay, there I got it. Nice. Okay, I'm just
You
sharing.
just share and you bit lower down so you understand. So this is the intro. This is the the names of the contents. Okay, this is where actually. Okay, so on the left, we don't have a in the case of Mahabharata, we don't
Hmm.
have a correspondence like one-to-one sentence, but this 7 shlokas equals to this paragraph.
I think we can work with that quite well. So, because we have some language models that can extract the sentences from those paragraphs.
Right.
So, if you could just provide me,
That's possible. Yeah, that's easy.
yeah, just with the table, it could be either TSV or CSV format,
We
whatever
usually have it
possible.
like a TXT, like a bunch of TXT kinds of.
That's also good. If it's easy for me to know which TXT
Yes,
maps
that's
which,
that's easy. And
perfect. Perfect.
below we have those commentaries. You don't need commentaries for this task, and then this is the commentaries. So anyway, yeah.
I mean, we can consider to add the commentaries in the future to
Oh,
the
you are
web.
thinking of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and again, I think if we would like to be more comprehensive to, yeah, give those explanation
Okay,
capabilities.
so you are looking in that direction. Okay,
Yeah, we are making experiments, but we are more careful. So we only want to
right,
provide it when there's a certain level of quality, and if it's not there, then better not to provide something that is like disappointing.
right.
So
So
in that sense,
because Ramayana and Mahabharata are those Rigveda, Atharvaveda, Ramayana, and Rigveda, they compose the big amount of what we have.
yeah, nice, nice. I mean, this is great data, and I'm very happy to add this to the system and
Great, great.
to,
Because I believe that the smaller ones, I mean, if I would write a letter to well, like ChatGPT, they would not even open the letter. So anyway,
yeah, that's I mean that's kind of where Dharma Mitra comes in as a project with its own relevance because we are part of the community of Sanskrit scholars and we
right.
are interacting and we try to improve on the issues that we discover. Yeah, so I think if you write a letter to ChatGPT and say that Astanga Mitra
That sentence in Ashtanga Hridaya Simhita, I
yes,
somehow feel fishy about it.
yes, you will not get a reply. And I think in our case, we cannot solve all problems. And there are some problems are so difficult, they are so fundamental that I mean,
But at least I believe
hmm,
we should start to enlist them. So
yes,
as we do at GitHub, so if you will just look at the number of issues we are dealing with, we don't, it's impossible to solve those issues that we have already. It would require the next, I believe, maybe 20 years just to if you just open the link and see, there
yeah,
are lots of issues. But what we try to do is we try to document and make them available that people are aware that not everything is fine with the Sanskrit dictionaries and there are things to be done yet. I mean, we after 200 years we still can't replicate the dictionaries as they were. So
yeah,
like there we have many repositories, we have 6,500 issues
Mm.
related to dictionaries. 6,500 dictionaries. Uh, and
Mm.
that's only 10 years, only the first 10 years. So
There's a lot to
we are
happening.
growing big. But
Mm. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's a wonderful project, and I'm super, super happy to see the work you are doing. And yeah, it's really just the tip of the iceberg, I think, that we are seeing here. Yeah. And
right. So,
this,
and I mean, I do see many ways of like intercorporating, like us linking to you and you linking to us, that we have this. I want to see that the texts, the text, the grammar, and the dictionaries, that they speak to each other.
yes. I mean, the first step would be to just look at the low-hanging fruits that we can at least have
Right.
the
Those the interlinking kind of things that we don't have to add some fine functions, but like just okay, if it matches the link.
yes, and I think there's one thing that we can do because you have the headword entries for each of the dictionaries. Yeah,
Right,
like
exactly. So, and that's a list. Yeah, right.
so I think we can actually use some of AI technology to give candidates for linking in case they don't match up
Right.
completely.
So there are like some cases when there's like a one letter difference kind of thing, and you can actually
Yes.
manage it quite easily. Right.
And then we can just say, okay, probably what you're looking for is one of these 10 entries or 5 entries, because I mean, that's how we are approaching the dictionaries. So we are trying to, okay, maybe I need to delete the prefix, maybe I need to add something. And then also orthographic differences, just different standards of writing the same word. All of those issues, they kind of combine into the
I
problems that.
sent you one of the things I want you to see and just to comment because it's on the on what you
Mm.
say. Okay, so if you change input
Yeah.
to simple,
Okay.
and if you write Varanasi, for example, in whatever way you want it, you press
Mhm.
enter,
Okay.
it's not that quick because the server is not that one. Okay, and anyway, so we have some
Oh,
ways of,
nice. Nice. So, I mean, that is also one way. I mean, if you already have an
we
algorithm.
already have it and it's like open.
Okay, is this code on GitHub?
Yes, it is.
Great. Wonderful. I mean, if you can point me to that, I
Yes,
think
of course. That's why we are here, like to point each other to things we were not aware of before. So
wonderful.
you can actually even write not only in Latin, you can
Mm,
write in different like you can write even Cyrillic, which I
yeah.
could show you that it actually understands that
Mm,
sometimes I mean we can actually have it in different ways. When someone finds something that looks like Sanskrit to him,
mm,
the book itself, there are 8 ways of writing like Amavasya in Russian books, 8 ways of writing the same term. And and if you go to a dictionary, you'll never find it because you have to do it the right way, which
yeah.
is hard when you are not a Sanskrit scholar, and most of people are not. And this is where I try to build bridges when that you should be able to find something if you know nothing.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, what I would just as a practical application, what I would like to do based on your dictionary and Dharmamitra is to in this explanation, we have those headwords now.
Right. They can be they can be clickable.
Exactly. So they should become clickable, and if you click on it, you end up
Right.
in
So
the
and
dictionary.
then each of us does what it does best. Like you
Yes.
concentrate on analyzing and we see if we can actually bring more people, volunteers to it to actually grow the size of the database that it actually like in 100 years from now it becomes the default standard of Sanskrit studies. And I mean we should none of us should try to do all of the ecosystem
Yeah. Yeah.
because then
Exactly.
we have a lot of
Mm.
bad systems because each of them is bad then
Yes. I mean, just to show you one thing that we are working on at the moment is to add a feedback system where you can actually make suggestions on improvements for the
I have
trans.
something even better than you show here. Okay, so you are showing some like a pop-up window kind of thing that can it select some text? Okay, can this pop-up thing select something you I mean if I translate something, can I
Mm,
actually comment on that place which pops? I mean if I
I mean,
you
maybe it's a bit more general. It will just
Okay, that's what I see. Okay, so what I propose it at Calogne, we have a system that if you have that dictionary page, you
mm,
select, let's say, one meaning, and you send the feedback not to the general page, but to the
mm,
word you selected, and that brings us like you don't have to fill out many fields. You fill just one field, but we have all the data because
mm,
some of the entries are really big. So if you say that there is an issue in Agni in Mona Williams, then it would require like 10 minutes to understand where it is.
I
And
see.
your filling in would be a lot of time. So what I believe is um, if you will find it good, that
Mm,
we have that system that has it like you can choose, and the JavaScript actually adds the data. So we have maximum data. You
mm,
spend less time of adding the what surrounds the word, and that's the way actually to start collect the feedback. Because yes,
mm,
you have to learn people, you have to teach people to actually how to work together. So initially they're not even aware that you can actually send that feedback, and
mm,
that just to have a feedback form, I believe is not enough. So
mm.
it would be
Yeah.
enough in 1994,
Mm.
but it's not any longer. So, and now we can actually have something more specific, like on a sentence level, on a word level, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we are happy to integrate that. It's just, I think for the next 3 or 4 months, we have a
I
backlog of.
don't believe what we speak about is for the next 2 months, Sebastian. I believe what we speak about is for the next 2 centuries and not two months.
Yeah, you are probably. I can see you might be right on that
I've
end.
seen such pain in all what I mean, but my most pain is that people don't try to work together. This is my
Yeah.
main pain.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I think, and that's maybe fundamental problem of Indology for not just in the digital age, but I think that's
Yes,
also something we have.
it
It's part
seems
of
to
our.
last. It seems to last before even.
I think it's a bit part of the culture that we have this idea of the solitary scholar who does the perfect Mahabharata translation, who does the best
And
edition.
dies in the middle of the first volume, making the perfect one.
Yes, maybe only gets the first 20 pages done.
But they're perfect.
Yes, they might be perfect. Yeah, and that's the point. I mean, that's and it seems our field is getting more extreme in that regard. Yeah, at least like in the early 20th century, people were able to edit whole text. Now we are down to parts of chapters. Yeah, a PhD project could be just the first 20 verses of chapter one of the Prasanapada and so on. So that's kind of where we are heading to, and I'm not so sure. I mean, that's maybe
And we
yeah.
still don't have a critical edition of Yoga Sutra anyway.
Exactly, those problems are obviously happening. Yeah, yeah. I mean, all in for collaboration and for creating an ecosystem of different capabilities that can be combined to solve those
And we
problems.
should be made aware of like what
Mm,
is there out. I mean,
yeah,
like even I, although
mm,
I try to follow what's happening, I
mm,
see that I don't know everything what's actually uh, going on because like there are those institutions whom I am aware of, but there are
mm,
actually some of the individuals who are working like in the underground.
mm,
They are doing more than those institutions that I am aware of, and there is actually no place which
mm.
contains like like a review kind of like what's the state of the art tool in each field uh,
Yeah. I mean, even just to have like an awesome list of
like an
Sanskrit,
overview kind of thing.
yeah, like a list of Sanskrit NLP tools for specific tasks, that kind
Because
of
there
thing.
was one list that Vishwas compiled, I believe, a few years ago,
Yeah,
but even
yeah,
at that time, it was like it contained 1/10 of what I was aware of, and I mean,
yeah.
I know only a part of what is there. So this is, I mean, it's maybe not that much about what else should be developed as of making aware what's already there, just to
Mm,
realize. uh, what are the ways to go, and
yeah.
not trying to just reinvent the wheel once again, but to have a bicycle
Mm,
stand and see how many of them are there actually, because I've seen plenty of Indian coders who are
mm,
doing fascinating things, but they each of them is like a a separate kingdom. Each of them
Yes.
is like a castle that is sometimes with an API, sometimes without. Anyway, they never interfere. No.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, I mean to be practical on that end, if there's already an API or like a clear link that we can use to get to that like fuzzy matching that you showed me with the
Right,
Varanasi example,
right.
I could actually integrate that already in a couple of weeks because adding the Cologne dictionary capabilities to the Dharma-Mitra interface, I think that's really a low-hanging, it's in some parts a
It's
low-hanging
it's
fruit.
it's comparably low hanging
Yes,
compared
completely. Yes.
compared to those like improving the quality of the translation, like what is the quality, what is translation,
Yeah.
how do you measure it? So every word here becomes like something to discuss for eternity. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
interlinking is what. So, for example, what we are lately doing a lot at Cologne is linking from the dictionaries to the books
Yeah.
the quotes were based on. So what we
Yeah.
are concentrating now is we are linking this to the scans
Mm,
of the
mm,
books the like dictionary makers based their meanings on. So this is huge task, but we are moving really fast lately
mm,
based on our Russian volunteer Sanskrit team because I mean, people, if you show them the way, there are people. The problem is there are not many people ready to guide and show.
mm.
And this
Yeah.
is where I would actually want to see like more kind of like of video tutorial kind of things. Okay, I have a text, I have time, I might
Mm,
be not even not the only one. What can I do? How can
mm.
I help? And
Yeah.
there are people of different experience. Not all
Mm,
of them are newbies. So some of them are great at Tashtariai, and so they can actually verify what's being submitted. So it's
mm.
the question is, I believe, of creating an ecosystem of Sanskrit tools and integration.
Yeah. 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 No, I fully agree. It's a daunting task because there are many like more issues on the level of people and personalities and so on involved than really technical issues. But
Yes,
yeah,
yes, it's most psychological
yes.
issue than because if there are two APIs, it doesn't take much to connect anyway. So,
Mm.
but I
Yeah.
believe Sanskrit studies had been long enough trying to like spiders in a jar. Like it's been enough of this fighting, enough of this blaming someone else for having it all wrong.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a big chance to make knowledge converge in this sense, yeah, because we have better tools now, we have better capabilities, and so I think there's a way to reach the critical mass where we can get enough people and enough knowledge to work on one project that we kind of counterbalance this fragmentation into different projects and different individual efforts, which doesn't really help to get the field advancing together. Yeah. Mm.
because just in the Petersburger Gross's Wörterbuch, we have 700,000 quotes. 700,000 quotes. So that's a lot.
Yes,
But
and
but most of them can be covered, not all of them.
mm,
Most of them can be covered if we work on a regular basis, adding indexes to those PDF scans already available on the internet. So it can be done. So that's
yeah.
just one bridge from the dictionary to the texts. But there
Mm.
still remains that bridge from the dictionary to the grammar. That's something. So there are plenty of more bridges to be built, like because
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's always a pity. Like I'm I'm one of those who probably believe that the Petersburger Dictionary is the best one we have.
it is, and
And
it remain for the upcoming few hundred years.
for
And
sure, for sure, and it's kind of a pity that Monty Williams and others took over and are the to-go
but
solution.
it's time to have the justice back and to get to give it back what we, I mean, we owe a lot to it, and it's a good way of like this interlinking kind of thing is a good way of showing that it's actually the source. That's
Mm.
the source, and you should keep to it.
Yes, I'm really surprised when I talk with people in outside of Germany, outside of Russia, who are not even aware that this dictionary exists, and they're like, "No,
Right.
Monty Williams is the best Sanskrit dictionary," and I'm like,
The only one.
the only one, yeah. And I mean those problems, obviously, and there's so much we can do to help.
Just to
Yeah,
popularize actually what's already long ago available, but it was available in books, and that means it's a bit like a dead in some aspect as of nowadays. So we want to give some juice to it.
yeah, and I mean probably the main reason why Petersburger Wörterbuch is not so popular is just because you don't have all the compounds indexed, and then people feel
But that's
confused.
doable. That's something
That's
that's
doable.
that's something that we what where we are looking to have
Yeah.
it like so that's something that yes, the Samasa's fields is endless because I mean I mean all of the dictionaries in the world, the core is identical. The
Mm,
core of all the dictionaries in the world is identical. The
yeah.
only difference is Samasas. So and the, how so uh the bigger the dictionary, it's not that it's like better.
Mm,
No, it's that doesn't correlate this way. Bigger, better. No, it's the question: how many samasas do you have? So in
yeah.
Monet Williams, for example, you require only um, so there are 40,000 elements who are combined, like the first part and the second part. Then so it's a limited amount. So only
Mm,
12,000 words can be the first part of the samasa. So that
mm,
means that we can play around with our tools to have like different ways of actually, I mean, whatever, generating or analyzing or whatever. So we have such tools that our uh, grandparents could not even dream of, and we are not yet using it them by 1% of what they actually can give us.
mm. Yeah.
And your tool is something in that direction, which
Mm,
is looking at the future. So I'm looking at the past. I'm
mm,
looking back to the old dictionaries of like 19th century. So I'm like a retro kind of guy, and you are from the future. So and if we unite these two visions of looking back and looking forth, then I mean,
yeah. No, fantastic. I think it's yeah, because I agree with you on that end that probably we will not see better resources in the next 100 or 200 years that will replace Petersburger Dictionary from the point of view of quality. Yeah? But we might have tools that make it more accessible, that can use technology to the advantage, yeah, to make it more manageable. The same for like Wackernagel's grammar, for example.
yes, I mean, yes, I mean, linking to some like as for now like Whitney's grammar I believe is still the biggest one, but in the German world it's still Wackernagel and never it will be replaced. If only
Mm.
would they have that chapter on verbs, but anyway it's great.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. No, I'm super happy to work in that direction and to see what we can do. Mm.
Who knows, maybe we don't fail at least at something. I mean,
Yeah.
this I really like the way you try to you seem to be open because
Mm.
I've seen so many times in the past that there are great projects, tens of work, tens of years of work, and then it starts to die at some point because if you're not open,
Mm.
you get dead at one point. This is what I believe.
Yeah, and I mean academic projects have lots of problems in that regard as well because even you get funding and some of those projects like ERC they get millions of funding, but there can be millions of funding with very little output, yeah, and
Yes,
that's what I've seen
yes.
happening the last years, and it's happening again. And I mean, I'm happy for those projects that get this kind of funding, but
But we don't get what we would expect them to do.
yes. And as you said earlier, it really seems to be that usually more like certain individuals in their free time get more done than
And
these.
that's something that makes me really like smile because in their
Yeah.
free time, they do a lot more with a higher standard than
Yes.
like institutions who get paid for like tens of people who are doing something which I really don't understand because I never needed even to use it because it was outdated even by the day it was invented. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, those institutions building tools, I don't want to say it's always a failure, but there's a great danger of those
chance.
tools being not really. I mean, there are positive exceptions as well, like the SAT project in Japan or the Cebeta in Taiwan. You know, certain things have
Right,
survived.
right.
I think Gretel also achieved something in the
Yes, yes, for
context
sure.
and in the time, and that's something that really advanced our field. But
Sure.
again, I think Gretel is a good example of a system that is more like the passion of one individual,
Yes,
like
and when
Greenwald.
someone passes away, then the passion passes away with him.
Unfortunately, I mean but it's understandable. But I also think that w giving time, things can reappear in a different way. Yeah. So even of course, Gretel is over with Gründal. Not so that's kind of happens, but we might have something similar in 5 years or so. At some point, it will rise again. So I'm optimistic about the future in that regard. Yeah, it's always sad when continuity is broken, but I believe that we have. I mean, we have smart people right now. We are ambitious, and something good will happen in the future, I think. Yeah.
I hope I were not boring to you telling all these
No,
simple
no.
things.
No, no, I think it's fantastic, and I'm a great admirer of the Cologne Digital Dictionary project. So that's fantastic work, I think. And yeah, I think the next obvious step is to link Dharma Mitra and the Cologne dictionaries. And yeah, I let's hope. I think that's my aspiration. Within this year, 2025, we should have at least a good basic linking that is
At least basic linking, right?
yes, that is like really useful for users. That's my aspiration for this year. And maybe
Great,
already in the next year, weeks or 1 or 2 months, we can have like a demo
great.
version that
We
does
can
some.
we can have some technical speaking. Okay.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
Thank you, Sebastian. It's a pleasure to
Yeah.
speak about issues that take a lot of my energy, time, and uh,
Yeah.
to see that there are people who are interested and who
Mm.
understand that it's not a solution for all our problems,
Mm.
but it might solve some of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one step at a time. But if the steps are to bring us closer together and to collaborate, even if it's a very long way to get there, I think that's the right steps to take. Yeah. Mm.
I give you my thanks and goodbye.
Thank you so much. Also, thanks for the invitation. And yeah, let's talk again soon. Yeah. Okay. Bye
See you.
bye.